A man's happiness is 100% under the control of women. 100%. Women are the arbiters of happiness, and men really just have no say in the matter whatsoever. You can do your best to look smacks and make lots of money and just do everything you can do to make yourself more attractive to women, but when it comes down to it, it's a women's decision whether or not you get to be happy. And I know obviously there are things in life other than women that can make a man happy, but all of that is temporary. Having a delicious meal or reading a great book, that kind of thing, that can temporarily give you a feeling of happiness, but that's not true happiness. That's really just contentment. You know, Things like that are just a form of coping, and all they can do is make you content for some period of time. If you don't have a woman who desires you as a man, then you just can't be happy. You can't. And it doesn't necessarily have to be one woman who you're in a relationship with, but just like knowing that women desire you. Men need that in order to be happy. And it's the same for women too. Women need to be desired by men in order for them to be happy, but that's easy for them because men tend to adjust their desires based on their available options, and men just have lower standards to begin with, so women don't really have to try to be desirable to men. Unless they have some kind of serious physical deformity, any woman can easily find a man to worship the ground they walk on. But for men, it's really hard out here, man. Women are really, really picky about which men they desire. And I guess really picky isn't really the right word for it because desire isn't exactly a choice. It's more of an innate thing. It's kind of a instinctual thing. But for whatever reason, most women are all attracted to the same top 20% of men, and they don't mind sharing them. I know I say that all the time on this channel, but it really is true. Women would rather date the most attractive man they can find, even if that man has 4 other girlfriends at the same time. They might not be exactly happy about the situation they're in, but women will put up with that if they think they have even a 1% chance of being the one that their alpha Chad boyfriend chooses to settle down with in the end. But I'm not here to rehash the same old tired talking points you've all heard 1,000 times. I was just thinking today about how a few weeks ago, or whenever it was, maybe a few months ago now, I don't really know. It's hard to keep track of time, but I did have a brief moment, like for a few days or something, where I felt hope. And I really believed at that time that maybe a woman actually did desire me. And I never fully believed it because in the back of my mind, I did know that she might just be using me to make her ex jealous, or maybe she thought she could use me for beta bucks, although, I don't know, that doesn't really make much sense, but, either way, I did think there was probably some kind of catch. And it turns out I was right to think that, because there was. And I don't know. I'm still kind of in the dark, but she did just end up ghosting me in the end. So, that's where we're at with that now, in case anyone was wondering. And I am talking about single mother, by the way. And if you're new to the channel, then I have a lot of other videos explaining this whole situation, but just for a quick summary, there was this woman that I met in the neighborhood and we got to know each other, and then eventually she spent the night at my house, but nothing happened, which was my fault. I probably could have made something happen, but I just panicked and I froze. And I haven't talked to her since then. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. And I did try texting her after that, after a few days, but yeah, never heard anything back. But yeah, what I was saying, for a few days there, I did feel like a little glimmer of what actual happiness could feel like. Because I was like halfway to believing that this woman actually did desire me. And it's hard to describe, but it was like, it wasn't just the immediate joy of, the anticipation that I might get to have intimate relations with her. Because that was there too. But what I'm talking about, it was something else. It was like life just had this overarching glow to it. And again, I could feel like this was only half of what this feeling was only half of what it could be. But yeah, like I say, it was like life had this overarching glow to it. Like I had more energy, my coffee tasted better, I was just less irritable in general. And I just, I found myself just enjoying the small things in life. I even, at some point, I just sat on the porch and listened to the sound of the rain. And, call me gay, whatever, but I just sat on the porch. I listened to the sound of the rain, and there was something about how it was so peaceful, and I was just looking up at the clouds, and it was like, damn, it's a beautiful world. I thought, this is a beautiful ass world we live in. Funny thing is, since then, just a couple days ago, I kind of tried to repeat that feeling when it was raining. I went and sat on the porch and, it sucked. So, yeah, I felt like I was halfway there, I was halfway to feeling what it actually felt like to be desired by a woman. Halfway to feeling true happiness. But I was only halfway there because I did have doubts, so I still haven't truly felt that what it could be, felt all of what it could be. But I don't know, it was like I had a deep-seated sense of security, like I felt safe, I felt comfortable, and things just felt good, a little bit, halfway. It felt a little bit happy, that's why I'm calling it happy. It felt a little bit happy. And like I say, I could tell I was only getting a partial snippet of a feeling. I was only halfway there, if that. But the thing is, from what the feeling I did get, I could tell that there is a true happiness that is theoretically possible. And really, it just felt like I could feel a little bit of what it feels like for normal people all the time. I was almost there. Almost. But then I lost it. Which ultimately, I think, is probably a good thing. I mean, being halfway there was never going to be a permanent state of being anyways, because eventually I was bound to realize the truth. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, it turned out being a bad thing, but it was never going to stay halfway. I was either going to go full hog all the way there or going to drop back down to zero, which is where I am now. But yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about how it's not necessarily unfair, but men's happiness is just completely under the control of women. women collectively get to decide which men are happy and which men are miserable. And also, on an individual level, each and every woman on this planet, on an individual level, has the ability to make at least one man happy. Ideally, to make one man happy, because that's how it works out the best, numbers-wise. They have that power. Women have that power over us. And the reason I say that it's not necessarily unfair, I guess in the modern day it is pretty much unfair, but historically, men had power over women too, in a way, in that men were the ones that built all the infrastructure and hunted the food and went to war and all that stuff, all that kind of man work stuff. Men provided women with everything that they needed to survive. So there was a trade-off there. But nowadays, women are provided for by the state. Or they can just provide for themselves, since it's pretty easy for them to find employment. So for women, since being desired is just automatic for them, for pretty much all of them, they actually hold the reins to their own destiny. Women get to control their own happiness to a large degree, and they get to control men's happiness to, 100%. And obviously, bad things could happen to you no matter who you are that could negatively affect your happiness. But for the most part, women do control their own happiness. Being desired is one requirement for happiness, and women have that down. They got that. No effort required. So that gives them the opportunity to pursue larger goals. If you've already got the biggest roadblock out of the way, you've already got it taken care of, there's nothing in front of you but the open road. So women, just by virtue of their existence, they are in a situation where they don't even have to worry about finding love. There's a reason women always give that blue pill advice of, love will find you when you least expect it. Because that is what it's like for women. They can just go about their business, going to the grocery store or whatever, and men will approach them. So they don't have to worry about finding love. So that opens them up to being able to focus all their willpower and all their energy on other things like personal goals and career ambitions and whatever else you can imagine that someone might want to do in order to self-actualize themselves, reach their full potential in whatever way that they personally envision that being. So it's no wonder that young women are out-earning young men. Average and below average looking men, which is most men, they can't even think about focusing on those things when they're constantly stressed about trying to attract a woman. And it ruins young guys in their 20s because they're so stressed about finding love, fully aware that the clock is ticking. Everybody knows your chances only decrease as you get older. I know morons like Andrew Tate like to say that men peak in their 30s or whatever, but that's not true. Most women prefer men that are roughly in their same age range. So if you're still single in your mid-30s, all you're going to be getting is the scraps. And that is a best case scenario. Seriously, show me even one example of a guy that went through his 20s having no success with women, then when he gets into his 30s, he manages to land an attractive woman that hasn't been absolutely ran through and used up. Show me that man. Because I'm convinced he does not exist. So men go through their 20s constantly stressed out, and they're unable to really put much effort into their career ambitions or their own business endeavors or whatever it is, because they're so focused on trying to find a decent woman before time runs out. Then they end up in their 30s, old, like visibly old, unattractive, lonely, and now they're pigeonholed career-wise as a nobody, a perpetual worker drone with no upwards mobility. Because if you aren't showing that upwardly mobile, go-get-'em attitude in your 20s, then nobody's going to give you a chance later on down the road when you're in your 30s. So everything just snowballs. You know, in Super Mario World, the one on the SNES, when you're in one of the levels where the screen is constantly scrolling from left to right and it forces you to keep running forward and you don't have any time to think, and it's playing that music like do 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 do, you know, that's what life is like for an unattractive man in his 20s, or even for an average man, except in Mario, you can replay the level as many times as you want, so you can memorize where all the platforms and all the power-ups and everything are. But in real life, there's no do-overs. You got 0 mans left, and there's no green mushrooms. You fall and you die, and then it's just over. That's it. And by the way, for all the younger guys in my audience, back in the day, we used to refer to extra lives in a video game as mans or guys. So if you had 3 lives left, you might say, I got 3 mans left. I don't know why that's what we did, but that's just what we called it. But yeah, man, it's hard out here for most men, especially sub-5 men like myself, because I have no say in the matter. You know, continuing on with the video game analogy, it's like I'm being forced to play this cruel game, but I'm not even the one that put the quarters in the machine. And all I can do is press one button while all the women of the world collectively control the joystick and all the other buttons. You know what I mean? I don't know if this metaphor is working, but what I'm trying to say is, as an unattractive man, I have very little agency over my own life. Like, yes, I can control certain things, like, obviously, I get to decide what to eat for lunch, or I can decide which Kira Lotan video I'm going to goon to before bed each night. But my own happiness? That's pretty much just 100% out of my control. Women are the ones that control that. So, I am in a situation now where I can't just lay down and rot anymore, because there's a baby that needs me to take care of him. And he's my cousin, by the way, but I'm one of his primary caretakers because, you know, his mom is too busy doing drugs and partying or whatever the hell she's doing. I don't even know. So you might think that would give me some purpose in life. And I mean, I guess it does. And don't get me wrong, I do have some joy in my life when I see him, you know, laugh at a funny sound or whatever. That does bring me some joy in the moment, but there's no true happiness in my life because I am not desired by any woman. But anyways, the reason I bring this up, I can't even just cope to pass the time anymore. Like, I pretty much can't play video games, I can't watch movies, I can't watch TV shows, or anything. Not much. I can sometimes find a little bit of time to watch something on TV, but that's pretty rare because I am trying to make sure that this baby doesn't get addicted to screens before he's even old enough to understand why that would be bad for him. So all my time is spent taking care of this baby, and any little amount of free time I have, I'm working on this YouTube channel. Which is something I enjoy to do for the most part, and that's something I choose to do, but there are times, a lot of times, when I really just want to sit down and play Baldur's Gate 3 or Red Dead Redemption for 6 hours straight. But there's no time for that. And honestly, I think I'll probably never get to play any kind of long game again. Like any game that requires sitting down and planning things out or building up a character over time. I have no time for that. and I probably never will again. But whatever, I've already gone way off topic. I really just wanted to say, it's messed up that women get to be happy and men get to be happy only if women think they deserve it. And I guess I don't deserve it. I fell off the screen a long time ago. You know, I got no man's left. I'm done. It's over.